Good morning. I am so excited to be with you this morning, and I'm excited to invite my dear friend Abe on here. And so as soon as I see him pop on, I will invite him to join me on this Facebook Live. Usually I use a different avenue for my lives, and I didn't bring my laptop to Sundance. So oh, that's not it. Add viewers to your broadcast. Maybe that's it. Abe. Okay, so usually, like I said, I use a different avenue, and now I'm just kind of trying to adjust as we go. So I had to here, I'll show you. That is what's holding my phone. You all know I talk with my hands, and so I'm like, what can I jimmy rig to make this work? So hopefully he'll hop on soon. So I believe he and I met in 1999. Might have been 2000. And he came to Texas with a dancing and singing college group, and they are amazing. They were amazing. And several of them stayed in our home, and it was just so fun to get to know him. I think there were 3 or 4 that stayed in our house, and Abe was definitely the one we connected with and knew we would be friends. Like, we just knew we'd be friends. And so I cannot wait for you to meet him. Let's see if I can get this to work. I've been nervous about this, but I'm sure we'll get this figured out. Okay, he's been invited. We just chatted, so I know he's gonna hop on. So I don't know about you guys, but I always love those friends where you can go weeks, months, years without talking to them, and then when you do reconnect, it's like no time has passed, and that friendship is just still there. And you might need to catch up on some things and catch up on life experiences, but all in all, the friendship is solid. And I am so grateful to those, because we probably all have that friend where if you go a certain length of time without talking to them, they're like, well, what's the matter? Why haven't I heard from you? And that drives me flipping bonkers. I'm sure you're all the same. So let me see here. I can't tell if he's on here yet. So Abe has a family, and I don't know how many kids. I think there's 7 or 8. They're amazing. They are part of what they call the Sunshine Mafia or Sunshine Super Squad. They actually have a YouTube. It's so fun. They're so talented. I was going to put in that plug at the end, but since I'm on here and he's not, I'll do that now. I am at Sundance, Utah, and it has been an incredible past couple of days. Today is our last day, which is so strange, so crazy. We got here on Monday. I always love to learn. I love to grow, and I feel like I'm finally, I learned so much in November, but I feel like I'm finally ready to implement things that will help and lift my team. So it'll be fun. Hi, Casey. How are you, hon? Thank you. It's my Senegent stuff from the past. It's kind of old, but it works. So Sundance, it's a mastermind for those of you who aren't familiar in the network marketing world. There are some amazing industry leaders and coaches that sometimes put on a mastermind, and it's a great opportunity to get a bunch of people together who are driven and motivated and who want to learn the industry better, the business better, implement the right strategies and tools to there's some yucky ways to do it, but I believe our industry is changing, and it's so exciting to be a part of and watch. I really believe it's because there's some current collaborative, and I call Rob Sperry the master collaborator. He has, he's brought so many guest speakers, this mastermind, and they've all been phenomenal. And I've learned and grown from each of them, and it's just been awesome. So I came to the November one. That was his very first with our kind of group. So he does 6 and 7 figure earners masterminds, and my goal is in 3 years that will be me. Hi Jennifer, good morning. I told him he better like plan somewhere pretty dang special in 3 years because I will be there. I'd love for that to happen sooner, but you never know. I'm giving myself 3 years. Masterminds, really there is, if you look up in Google, like there really is something to getting a group of people together who are like-minded and who want to accomplish similar goals, and it's just incredible. It's awesome. I'm wishing I had a way to like message him through here because we just barely talked. What else can I tell you? It's gorgeous here. We're going to take a hike this morning, and it's so beautiful up this way. And that's one of the things I've told several of the people here, that I really had a hard time wrapping my head around living in Utah forever. And it was just a struggle. Oh, there he is. Yay! Let's see if I can get him on here. It's been a struggle, but I love the beauty of this area, and the mountains are gorgeous. We've even had snow on the mountains, and it's been incredible. So here he is. It's taking its time now. Our internet is kind of bad, so I was hoping if I do this early enough, it wouldn't be so bad. Technology is the best. Let's see if it'll work. Hi, Abe. I hope this works, right? We tried this one other time, and I didn't set my alarm, and so I totally blew it. Okay, looks like he's hopping on. Let's hope. Okay. I even came to a spot in the house that has like the best connection. So oh yay, oh yay, oh come on, let's.
All right, says I'm connecting now. All right, I'm there.
Oh my gosh.
Going.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Fantastic. So our connection might be a little rough, but we'll make it work.
No worries.
So Abe, tell me about your family.
My family. Oh my gosh. We have had the craziest mornings. All of our mornings are crazy. We have 6 kids. One of them just sent back to Santa Rosa. He got called to go to Colombia. Work down there. And I wonder if you can feedback.
Yes, I'm seeing if I
Hold on
move
one
that,
second.
if that'll help.
Do you happen to have any headphones?
I don't, but I think it's gone. I think we're good.
Okay, cool. So sorry, I'm a little
your kids,
sweaty.
your family.
It's Florida.
No, you're fine. You were saying it's been a busy morning.
It's been a busy morning, but almost every morning in our house is busy. We have 6 kids. The boys have football practice this morning. My daughter, who's 12, Mariah, she actually they ended up getting up and taking the trash out because we forgot to do it last night. I hope nobody saw that. Like, I have my little girls taking the trash out for me. But we have a son that just came back from Colombia because of the COVID. But he just got reassigned to Santa Rosa, California. So he's
Awesome.
back there. Just went there this last week and getting settled in and doing really well over there.
That's awesome. That's so great. Okay, so we briefly chatted about this the other day, but you guys have adopted. So how many kids total do you have?
So we have 6 total. And, well, so we have
What
7
led?
total, I should say that. We have 1 who's officially adopted, 1 who's unofficially adopted. And, but yeah.
So what
So
led to
we have
that?
a big
What led to
family.
that part of your journey?
Well, growing up, we had a family that we did foster care, and I have brothers and sisters who are adopted, and it just having that experience just taught me that family isn't always necessarily about your blood, but that when you think of in terms of uh, the gospel, it's a big part of the gospel.
Yeah.
Jesus was adopted, right? So as far as we know, that's a big plan. And so God had set in place a way for us to take care of each other. And that was something that I learned growing up. And so Rachel had a similar experience where she always felt like adoption would be a part of her family. And so even before we ever got married, we had conversations about it. And so it was almost a given when we got married that we would ultimately adopt.
That's awesome. That's incredible. You know what's funny is I've never thought about Jesus Christ was adopted.
Yeah,
But he was. That's incredible. Um,
no doubt.
so the newer version of Annie came out and it like made my kids want us to do foster care. And it's something we really, right? Isn't
Yeah.
that funny? We really discussed it. We sat down, had like a family powwow, talked about like kind of what that would entail. And there's a lot that entails. There's meetings and visits and things like that. And ultimately, it wasn't the right timing for us. But I think that's so amazing. And there's so many families out there who have good homes where these kids can grow and flourish. And so I think that's incredible. I think that's so neat.
Yeah, it was an experience that basically taught me, it's interesting. They'll sit you down and they'll ask you, okay, what kind of kids are you willing to accept in your home? And as we were going through it, you kind of look and you kind of looking through it and they give all these different possibilities of challenges that a kid could have. And you think about that, you're like, well, if you were having a child in the traditional way, would you be able to sit down and go, oh, well, I can deal with this, I can deal with that, right? So we have our kids in the traditional way, but when we adopt, we were sitting down, was like, well, is there really anything that we could say that we wouldn't take that kid? Because ultimately, if they came to us in the traditional way, then we would never send them back. So
Yeah.
it was an interesting process to just kind of look through that and kind of look inside to see where we really feel like there was somebody out there for us, and ultimately God works it all out. So
He does. I was talking with a friend. I'm actually here to mastermind. I think
oh,
I
cool.
told you that. And so I was talking with a friend last night, and God's hand really is in all things. Like, He knows. He knows what's coming. He knows what's happened. He's aware, and His hand is in the background working and adjusting things to work in our behalf. So yeah, I love that. So Abe, I've debated back and forth about chatting with you about this. And when you and I chatted, you were like, I'm an open book. So here it goes.
Yeah.
You are a Black man married to a white woman. You came to college in Utah where there's not a lot of diversity here. What has been your experience as a Black man? Like, have you felt profiled? Have you ever felt or had experiences with that?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think that you would be hard pressed to find a Black man that hadn't been
Hasn't.
profiled, right? So
Yeah.
living in Utah was awesome. I really loved Utah. Now,
Good.
when you talk about just this country in general and moving to different areas, you know, different areas are different. So like we live in Florida now, going to California would be a complete different experience. I lived in Massachusetts. That was a complete different experience. Texas, St. Louis. I've lived all over this country, and loved every area that we lived in, but every area was a completely different experience. And so a lot of people would, Utah kind of has, I think, a bad connotation in some people's minds that haven't been there, because they don't know, you know, and so they'll say, "Oh, Utah, what's that like for you?" Because, you know, they know there's just not a lot of black people in Utah. And I believe that when I had done the research when I moved there, I think it was 0.08%. Oh, there's my daughter.
She
Hi,
is so
Juliana.
cute.
So seriously, a very small amount of people. That having been said, I know that I definitely have been profiled there. I've had people follow me. I've heard people say ignorant things, but you know, I actually, after a couple years of living there, I realized that I was a lot more angry than I normally would be, and I had to look at that and evaluate that, and ultimately decided that that I was going to be a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. And so,
I like that.
from that moment, I mean, not that I haven't had problems, not that there aren't things there. I mean, there are still things there today, but I approach them differently. But this is definitely, I mean, it's definitely an interesting time because more people are listening than ever. And more people are being exposed than ever just because of the age of social media and these things. A lot of these things that we're seeing and that happened in the last few months are not things that, I mean, most of these things have happened before, many of them. Some of the responses that you're seeing are things that are kind of, some of them are new. But a lot of these things are things that have happened before. So it's, in some ways, it's not a surprise to people, but I think some people, it was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. And so ultimately, how do we work? The question that I always have for people is, so where do we go from here? How do we become part of the solution and not continue the issues that we've had?
I love that because even in my business, we're taught to come up with 3 solutions for every problem. And I think sometimes people get so stuck on the problem, and that builds and builds and spirals and tornadoes. And it's like, but what do we do from here? And I have loved, honestly, over the last few weeks, I've loved hearing some of the stories that I haven't heard before. And I grew up in Texas. So like for me, when I see a black person or any other race, I'm like, can we be friends? Like, oh, I love it. And yet I know that's not always everybody's experience, right? And but what can we do to be better? So Abe, what do you think we can all do to be better, to be a part of the solution and not the problem?
Well, so I think there's two. It's a pretty complicated problem just because there's a history, right? And anytime there's a history, and especially if you don't agree upon that history as far as what it is, it becomes a complicated problem. But solutions can be simplified somewhat. I do believe that when it comes to like a one-on-one type of thing, I believe that it's as simple as do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I believe it's the golden rule. Love God, love your neighbor. Who's your neighbor? Everybody, right? Those are pretty simple things. They're not always easy things, right? Because we are raised with, in different situations. We're raised with different experiences. We have different experiences.
Right.
I do believe that if there's people that have issues people are holding on to anger and those types of things, there's new experiences that need to be created. Yeah.
And even
And
old ones that maybe need to be addressed.
Yeah, exactly. And I do believe that if we have new experiences, then those new experiences can become new beliefs for us about the way that other people see us. And so I think right now what the black community is crying out for is a new experience, because most of the things that we've seen, we've already heard the argument, all lives matter. and I'm not here to give you any kind of statement about either side of that. I do
Right, right,
believe that if you believe all lives matter, then it should be pretty easy for you to say Black Lives Matter. Um,
right.
and I think the issue that people are having is, are we supporting Black Lives Matter as a concept? Are we supporting Black Lives Matter as a group? Like, so people are in their minds, and I think, listen, truth is truth. If Black lives do matter and you believe that, then say it. Don't worry about how other people will interpret your truth. And so
Right. Well, and I
it's up to
think,
you.
yeah, I had a friend that was a part of the original movement of Black
Uh
Lives
huh.
Matter,
Right.
and she is even frustrated about what it's been turned into because that wasn't their original purpose. That wasn't their initial goal, right? Like their purpose was what's actually kind of happening now is for people to share their stories and to make people like me aware of some of those things that they have experienced and gone through, like being followed, um, being pulled over because they're questioning whose car it is. Like I read a thing about a guy who he truly feels like he cannot work his business after 6 p.m. Like I've never had that. I've never worried
Right.
about that. I've never thought
Yep.
twice, right? And so I think just getting those stories, you used the word history just yesterday in one of our trainings. He broke it down to saying his story. And that's really what they wanted. That's what the initial and original purpose was, to just share stories so people had a better understanding of what has gone on and some
Right.
of the ways that are still injustices, right?
See, and I
We
and
actually
I also and I would say
go ahead.
that I don't think you should ever be afraid to say Black Lives Matter just because you're afraid of people associating you with a specific group of people.
Right, right.
If you believe that matters, it matters. And in this country, I think that most black people would agree with you that all lives matter.
Yes,
I don't.
agreed.
I mean, if
100%.
not all, right? And
Right.
I'm a big supporter of police officers and what they do, and I understand how tough of a job that is. I have several friends, relatives, people who are close to me that are police officers, and I completely support police officers. And I don't think that's the issue that I mean, clearly that's become an issue because I think that, but it's, I don't think that it's as simple as, okay, black people against the police. That's just, that's just not what it is. So
Right.
I
And
think
I think
again, if we
there's a
could
very
simplify it
small,
enough, yeah, go ahead.
I think there's a very small handful of people where they probably really do feel that way, but that's what's being
Sure.
amplified right now. That's what's being voiced. But I think that's a very small group. Whereas I think the majority believe Black Lives Matter, believe police are important, and
Yeah.
on on the
Yeah.
majority, they're good people who are serving our state, our cities, our states, and that all lives matter. Like so, it's
Sure.
like there. I think the majority feel that way, and it's just this small little group that's trying to make a lot of noise.
Yeah, and I do believe that, I believe it does hurt some black people that a good friend of theirs or maybe even a relative of theirs can't just simply say Black Lives Matter because for them it becomes this personal issue about like, well, I'm
Right.
not going to say Black Lives Matter because all lives matter. I don't think we can hold on to that kind of stuff. I think it's time to be able to support the black community. Um,
Well, and don't you think it's a mindset? It's a mindset of just because someone says Black Lives Matter doesn't mean all
that all
lives
the
don't
other ones
matter.
don't,
Like,
right?
and so there was actually a post somebody did the other day, and it said just because we say this doesn't equal that. And it hit me because I'm like, yeah, that's so true. It's okay to support this cause. And granted, by saying I support that cause, like I don't support the riots, but guess what? I don't know, and media is so bad. I don't know that Black Lives Matter are a part of those riots. If for all I know, it's Antifa. So it's like
Yeah, we don't know
we can't
anything because the
associate.
media will show you what they want to show you. This
Right,
is this
right.
is the biggest issue in our country right now, guys. A lot of people are becoming puppets and doing exactly what the media are trying to get you to do. You can't
Yep.
trust anything that you see on there. I graduated in broadcast journalism, so I understand exactly how the
So
media works.
you
These
know,
people are there to make money. They're there to fill ad space, and the more eyes they have on their channel, the more money they make. And so you can't trust them when you're led by money. You can't trust any of them at a fully. And so you have to take all the information that you get with a grain of salt.
It's sick.
Um,
Sick.
and so
Yes.
once we figure out that, if you sit there and you watch CNN or any other channel all day, every day, it's like, think about it like this. I live in Florida. You have no idea how many times I've had someone call me and tell me that I was going to die because of a hurricane. Because they're watching it on the news across the country. And they're like, you're going to die, man. I'm watching it on the news right now. It's going to swallow
evacuated?
Florida up. And I'm like, I'm here right now. The sun is shining. And I promise you that it takes, like, every hurricane that I've ever been in, it takes like a week and a half to get there. Now, I'm not saying that hurricanes aren't devastating and that they can do damage. But in many instances, specifically in Florida, you have plenty of warning to leave when you know that it's going to be when it's going to be bad, whether it's going inland, whether it's going to another state. But we never know what's going to happen or what's actually really going on. I've been in a town where there was a person that was on the news, like, trying to pretend like it was way worse than it was. And like I said, they're here to sell tickets, guys. And I'm not saying, and all my media friends, because I have lots of friends that went into it, it's not I'm not condemning them. All I'm saying is that you have to be careful. Even when people are trying to tell the story, they're telling it from their perspective. And I've had I don't think I've ever been an article I've been in or a news story that I've been a part of where they didn't get something wrong. I've even had the Deseret News was doing a fluff piece on Jericho Road and misspoke something that I said and something about me, which it wasn't offensive to me, but it just shows you that you get something this wrong, it makes everything seem completely different. And so that's the one thing.
Like a game of telephone.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So switching gears, you are a performer. You were a performer. So Abe was part of a group called Jericho Road, for those in my audience who don't know.
That's right.
What was the group in BYU called? I could not think
Young
of the
Ambassadors?
name. Yes, that. So that is how we met. I kind of shared that before you were able to pop on. So you and your family have, is it Sunshine Mafia or Sunshine Super Squad, or is there a difference, or do you do both?
Yeah, so
I was looking that up this morning and I'm like, I'm not sure.
Well, we have a channel called Sunshine Mafia, and we all of our kids have channels. So most of our kids have channels. So Jackson, who's on a mission now, has one called Jacksonmillion Productions. He used to do music on it, and lately he's been just sharing gospel messages, so scriptures and good principles, Christian principles. And we have Tyson's Wilderness. That's our 16-year-old. He is absolutely crazy. In the last month, he's had videos about 2 different alligators coming after him and different things. When you live in Florida, alligators are real. They're out there.
They're like
Tyson's Wilderness.
Streets,
check him out. What's that?
Okay. They're just on the streets, aren't they? Like
they're out there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you see a body of water, there is likely an alligator in it. So most of this stuff happened within a couple miles of our house that hits on his video. So, but Tyson's Wilderness, he has about 150,000 subscribers on YouTube now, and he's doing super well. We have Jordan Sunshine Super Sports, we have Sunshine Super Squad, and then you have Sunshine Mafia, which is our main channel, which is our family vlogs, challenges, all kinds of things like that.
What inspired that? Like, what made you guys decide, hey, we're going to do this?
Wow, it's a crazy story. My wife had been feeling like she wanted to get a camera and that it was important for us to have a camera. And we had some friends that had done YouTube. We didn't know anything about it. They came and stayed at our house, and he was videoing everything, and we kind of saw him editing video at the end of the night, and we were like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, we're just editing it for our YouTube channel." And so I was like, "Really? Like, what does that mean?" Like, he's like, "Well, we just edit our videos, we put them on YouTube, and people watch them." And I'm like, "Really?" He's like, oh yeah. He's like, we probably, he had said, I can't remember how much money it was, but he told us about how much money they made a month doing it. And it was like, I was like, just from people watching your videos, that's like the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life. And so we had a friend who worked at a camera place, and she had sent me a message saying, hey, I work at this camera place. If you ever need anything, give me a call. So my wife said, I'm going to break down and buy a camera. I was like, hey, wait a minute. I got this message from our friend. And she said to call her if you ever need anything. So she called, and the lady said, okay, what's your budget? And my wife said, we don't have a budget. We're just like trying to scramble together and get some money. Yeah, exactly. So ultimately, she said, hold on a second. She went and talked to the owner. Excuse me.
Bless you. Bless you again. Do you guys
Thank
have
you.
allergies in Florida? They're bad here
Allergies, man.
now.
It's
Yeah,
that time of
horrible.
year.
It is.
But he came back and he said, we are going to gift you 2 cameras. And I know. And it was like
Wow.
my wife broke down crying, and we were so grateful. And so that kind of started our experience to kind of get out there. It gave us the courage to get out there and start videoing things. And it was that winter, there was a campaign that started called Light the World. And it was all about taking the days leading up to Christmas and using those days to spread the good cheer and the real message of Christmas. And so what we decided to do that year was every day we did a song, a Christmas song, and we did a video about it, and we posted it on YouTube, and then we posted it on Facebook. And that was kind of how it got started. That's pretty much how it got started.
And you guys are all so very talented. Like, so
Oh, you
very
were
talented.
sweet.
So that's so incredible. Abe, you're awesome. I hate to wrap things up, but thank you so much for hopping
Thank
on
you.
here. And if anybody is watching and they want to check him out, Sunshine Mafia is on YouTube. They are just an incredible family. Really quick, actually, one more question for you before you go.
You bet.
Has there been some hard things, though, about exposing your family and having all of you in and on that YouTube world?
For sure, for sure.
Does it present
Like
challenges?
so I told my kids last night, we actually had to have a conversation about this, and I said, listen, I said, in your life experiences, you're always going to have negative things happen to you. You're always going to have people that are friends with you, people who are relatives, people who you're very close to, and you're going to have negative things that they do, and you're going to have positive things that they do. And so your life is going to, and the joy in your life and the quality of your life is going to be based upon what you choose to focus on. Is it going to be positive? Is it going to be negative? Every time you see that person, are you going to have a negative thought in your mind, or are you going to have a positive thought in your mind? And it's going to affect your relationship with that person. It's going to affect your daily demeanor, how you go about your life. And so, yeah, we've had a lot of challenges. There's been people that have sent us messages that you don't want to know. And exposing your family is kind of like, everybody has a different way of either disciplining their kids or how they deal with their kids. So we had a few people commenting on that stuff. We've had a few people comment on how good of parents we are just based upon the fact that we actually have our kids on videos. But you know what? In the end, we don't do it for those people.
Right.
There are countless numbers of messages that we receive that are from people who are saying, we appreciate the relationship that you have with your family. Thank you. I'm bullied at school, and I watch your videos to make me feel better when I get home. I don't have a good relationship in my family, but I can see that there can be a good relationship based upon your family. So, I mean, I could go on and on and on, but when you see those types of things, all the challenges that we have, it's not easy being a YouTube family. It's a constant grind. My wife, I have to give a shout out to my wife, Rachel. She works We homeschool our kids, and she's the boss of that. She does amazing with that.
She is
She
incredible.
is the mom of the house, and so she has that, she feels that responsibility, and she
Yeah, that
takes
role.
the care to make sure that that's done to the best that she can do it. And then also on top of that, she shoots our videos and she edits our videos. And editing a video usually will take between 5 and 8, sometimes 10 hours in a day. And we post on a daily basis. So to give you an
Oh,
idea
wow.
of this woman, she is she's just constantly working and doing
Oh,
something.
she's
And
determined
so,
and fierce. Yeah.
but again, when she sees a comment like that, she's pushed to continue doing it. So
Yeah, yeah. I think that's one of those things where the haters are going to hate,
haters
and
gonna hate.
the people, it's usually about them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I feel like when people are mean or unkind or negative like that, like, it's more about them than you. And you just have to let that go, bless and release, and say, here you go.
No doubt.
Abe, I love what you're doing. I so admire you and your family. So grateful to know you. Thank you so much for joining me today. You are the best, and I just appreciate you so much. So thank
Hey,
you
I
for
appreciate
this.
you and your family. And you are the one, you're out there, you're doing the same thing. You're out there as a mom and out there succeeding in lots of areas of life. So keep up the good work.
Thank
And
you
thanks
so
for having me
much.
on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you have a great rest of the day, and all of you watching, thank you so much for joining us. Have a good one.
Have a good
Bye.
one. Bye.